One of the questions that I hear most often at A-level is, Miss, how do I revise? Okay, how do I revise for an exam? And my answer to that is, you've got to know what you're revising for. And I will say this right now from the start, simply reading through your notes or reading through a textbook and highlighting or even copying key bits of information onto a piece of paper isn't going to cut it at A-level, okay? It's not going to be enough, because what you're doing is you're being quite passive. And if you look at the way the brain works and the way that memory works, you have something called the forgetting curve. And what that means is every time you learn something, the first time you learn it, you forget it really quickly, probably within the day. The second time you have to recall it and learn it again, it takes a little bit longer to forget it. And so forth. The third time takes a bit longer to forget it until it really gets embedded in your memory. And by just highlighting a textbook, you're being quite passive. You're not using your brain to recall that information. So it's not going to work. You need to know, if you're going to revise, you need to know what you're revising for, which one of the areas you are revising for. And what I mean by that is you are tested in A-level business studies on 4 key areas. The first one is knowledge. So this is your formulas, your models. Are you using terminology in the right way, in the right context? This is your definitions. Do you know what keywords mean? Do you know what numbers mean? So once you've calculated a number, do you actually know what it means for the business and its impact on the business? Do you need that number to be high or low? And this is the one that I'm going to be focusing on in this video, how to revise for knowledge. You do have application, which looks at context, okay, and I'll talk to you about how you revise for that later on, okay, in a different video. Analysis and evaluation are looking at your chains of argument and then the conclusions that you reach and the suggestions that you make, okay. Again, I will show you how to revise for those in a different video. However, although you don't get huge numbers of marks for knowledge, if your knowledge isn't sound, A, you're not going to understand the question because the key terminology, you're not going to get it, okay? You're not going to understand the nuances of the question. And B, you're not going to have a strong foundation to build your argument on. So how do you revise for knowledge? This is what you do. It's really simple. It forces you to recall and use your brain. So switch everything off, switch your mobile phone off, etc., etc. Switch your computer off, grab a blank sheet of paper, A3, A4, whatever it may be, okay? I don't care if this is landscape, portrait, none of that matters, okay? Grab a blank sheet of paper. Pick a unit that you are going to revise, marketing, HR, operations, finance, whatever it may be, or any of the year 13 units. In the middle of your sheet, put that unit name in, and then brainstorm around it all of the things that you remember about it. So if it's finance, all the formulas that you remember, all the ways in which you make financial decisions, okay, what those formulas mean. Just put all your definitions for all the terminology that you know. If it's marketing, you might look at all the marketing models. It might be things like market map you might put in there. You might put the Boston matrix in there, okay? So get a black pen or a blue pen and just do those, just brainstorm for a good kind of, I would say, really force yourself to do it for a good 5 minutes. What can you recall naturally? Then grab a different coloured pen and with that, look at your scheme of work or a list of all the topics in that unit and add in anything that you have forgotten in a different coloured pen. So very visually, you can see what you have forgotten. Okay, so add in everything that you've forgotten. Once you've done that, go back to your black or blue pen that you initially wrote in, switch everything off again, and try and define everything that you have put onto that brainstorm so far or that mind map so far. So if you've put Boston matrix, explain what it shows underneath. If you've put product life cycle, explain what it shows underneath, okay? What are the different stages of it? Yeah. If you've shown a formula, explain whether you want the number to be high, low, what it actually means, what the number that comes out of that formula actually means and shows you. Okay. Once you have done that, now you're on to the final stage. For anything that you don't know, go back and research it. You can go onto the Tutor2U website. I've got some videos. Go back and research those areas. And in your different coloured pen again, go back and add that in. Ideally, what you should have is one sheet of paper where everything in black or blue is stuff that you know, okay? And everything in the different color that you've used are things that you don't know. Top the number of things that you don't know up and put a little number in the corner and keep doing that. So you might do it 3 or 4 days later. Throw away that sheet initially or put it aside, get a fresh new sheet and repeat the exercise. What you want to do is you want to reduce the number of things you don't know. That number that you've got in the corner, okay, you want to reduce the number of things you don't know. This is making you actively recall information. Also, what's great about it is once you've done it, you can stick it on your wall and try and memorize the stuff in your different colored pen, okay, whether it's green, purple, whatever it may be. Okay, you can try and remind yourself about that and then you can recreate it. So that's one way to solidify your knowledge, okay? We'll be looking at other strategies for application, evaluation, analysis, etc. But I think this is just a really simple strategy that makes you recall knowledge rather than just reading through a book and highlighting keywords, which is just really passive.